Well, hello, Judy.
Lisa, what's happening?
All the things. All
Everything,
the
right?
things. Yes.
Lots and lots.
Yeah. So today, oh, jeepers, we have got such a big thing going. And Pickle is growling behind me. Can you hear her growling and hissing?
No, I can't. She's
She's
being
not,
ignored.
no, she's not a fan of Evie. So
Oh,
she
okay,
wants to
got
be
it.
with friends and
Evie's
move
the
around.
dog, Pickle's the cat. So Lisa has her menagerie with her today.
So if you hear growling in the background, that's the controversy that's going on behind the scenes.
It's not your stomach, it's the cat. Okay.
So today we are talking about a big one. We are
Yep.
talking about overcoming writer's block.
Yes, that is a big one.
And what's fun about that is, we're in the midst of our 30-day journaling journey right now. And
Hmm.
this past week, I don't know which day it was, but I made a statement that you and I do not suffer from writer's block.
That's right.
And it came to my awareness that that is rather unique.
Yes, it surprised me that there was like a name out there for the opposite. That people had writer's block. And that's what was, well, I think we were talking about it. We were saying, why do people hesitate to write?
Mhm, mhm.
And in our discussion, it came forward that what they really call it is writer's block, and that there are many parts to that, many reasons for that.
Yeah, and we're going to actually get into that. So that is some part of what we want to discuss today. So in this discussion, we have two parts, I guess. We
Mm-hmm.
have a big announcement.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk a little bit about writer's block, and
Mm-hmm.
then we're going to be coming back to that big announcement and talking about some of its parts. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay. So
You
the
take it
first
away, Herbie. We're gonna have to buy a drum. That's all there is to that
you
for
don't
these
like
drum
my
rolls.
I that
Always step on it. That's the problem.
Oh yeah, the bass drum. That needs to be the bong at the end of it, doesn't it? The snare drum bong.
Um,
Okay. So the first thing in terms of big announcement. And this is such a bad writing technique. You never want to lead with the big announcement, do you?
oh well,
You should be saying the big announcements at the end.
I think we can talk about it now.
Okay. So our podcast is being, I don't know what to say, just changed, rebranded, or we've come up with a new name.
I think it's being updated. So
Yes,
yeah,
like that's
updated.
positive and proactive. So up until this point, this podcast, as everybody who's listening to it well knows, has been called Sidetracked Legacies. And
Correct.
in talking with some other people and in with the Sidetracked Sisters, we've decided that Sidetracked Legacies is not an easy way to find us.
It's not very descriptive.
No,
It doesn't really define who we are or what we do.
it doesn't. It's a nuance that we found catchy.
Hmm.
And we do legacy writing, but
Hmm.
even that legacy writing is actually a term that we made up.
We did.
So if you Google legacy, you're going to get all kinds of financial advice.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's
We
not us.
we used to sell legacy furniture, remember?
Back in the way day. Yes.
Way back there. Yep.
And so when we kind of were brainstorming about what we do, where we've been, and really what our interest is, we were like, we like writing.
Hmm.
We like to help people problem solve.
Hmm.
We like to encourage people. And we like to highlight people that are writers and who are inspirational to us in terms of really recording their stories.
Hmm.
And we're
I think
like,
we also like to support potential writers who maybe have a story they'd like to tell, but they don't understand what's holding them back.
amen. You're preaching there, girl.
Am
Bring it
I?
on.
To the choir, right?
Yes, exactly. And so we decided to rename, what was your word?
Update.
Update. Update our name. And it's, it may not be quite as catchy, but it definitely tells people what our focus is. The
Right.
name is going to be Overcoming Writer's Block.
That's it. I love it.
And it's going to have a new intro and a new outro. It will feature Lisa and Judy, as it always has. And we are going to continue to bring fresh, new, and interesting people to the podcast also.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's something that is going to be coming in the very near future. If you're listening to this in real time, we're recording this right now at the end of June, and we are planning on jumping into this new kettle of fish in July. So
Correct.
that should
Absolutely. Yeah, and when we say new kettle of fish, I mean, if you go back and listen to our prior podcasts, we've done a lot of discussion about the writing process and things we can do to become writers and all that kind of thing. But I don't know that we've really identified the reasons why,
exactly.
we hesitate to write. And I think maybe that's because for us, it at this point, we've done the work and we've reached a point where it's become very easy to write.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
However, I think we've identified that that isn't a simple process for the rest of the people that would like to write.
Okay, so I guess we're changing our format just a little bit from what I said at the very beginning. Let's get into exactly that, Judy. I think in our brainstorming and talking about this new direction for our podcast, we've discovered and identified 4 different areas that people struggle with when they are thinking about doing any kind of writing, whether it be memoir writing, journal writing, just thought downloads, whether they're doing fiction writing, all the things,
All the
and
above.
all the above. I think the first one is people have some apathy, maybe, about writing because perhaps they have a sense of there are particular technical skills that you must have in order to write your thoughts down on paper.
Nuh-uh. Not true. No way. Nada.
You know,
You know,
when I
uh,
taught first graders, there were even the first graders. We call it kid spelling. You just write your thoughts down and you spell it whatever way your brain tells you to write down the sounds you hear.
correct.
If first graders can write down their thoughts on paper,
So
anybody
can
can.
we. And
Yes.
what I want to say about apathy is I don't think that our podcast, Overcoming Writer's Block, is going to appeal to 100% of the world out there. I think there is a percentage, I have no idea what it is, that really don't want to write. They have no interest in writing. But I think we're really focusing more on that group that, like us, would like to get their thoughts, feelings, experiences, family stuff down on paper.
Their stories.
Their stories. And for some reason, it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And what we've identified is that it is an extreme form of writer's block. And every writer, even professional writers who are doing stuff for publication, which we aren't necessarily encourage people to do, have times when it just isn't happening.
They're stuck for whatever reason. So
It
that
gets,
first reason maybe is that the technical stuff. The
mm-hmm.
second reason that we came up with was anxiety, because you know
How
that
do
that
I do that? I don't know. I don't know if I'm writing down the right stuff and is this gonna you know why I'm role playing this is because I'm the master of anxiety. It's I can hear my heart beating right now talking about it.
fearing becoming successful or
Mhm.
fearing not becoming successful,
Mhm.
because they're putting their heart and soul into something, And maybe there is this anxiety around success.
Mm-hmm.
I think that happens for lots of people.
And we maybe need to define in this kind of writing, what's your success going to look like?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you? The next one is somebody called it anger, but I don't know that it's really anger, but it's a person's concern about being good enough.
Mm-hmm.
If I write something, will it be good enough? And I think what you said before about defining what that looks like for each person is kind of important.
What's your expectation? What do you really, what's your end goal on this particular part of your life? And then you're doing this writing, and that can change, that can grow, you can get to be so darn good at it that it becomes a bigger piece, right?
Which goes back to fear number 2 of becoming successful.
Wow, I could go for that.
And then there's the fourth one, fear of what others would think, either in terms of their fear of comparison, comparing you with your writing with somebody else's writing, or a fear of judgment.
Correct.
They are to write about this, or I was there and that's not the way I saw it.
Exactly. And I think that fear of judgment can be huge. What's this going to mean when somebody reads what I wrote, and are they going to take it wrong? Are they going to think I'm saying something I'm not saying? All those pieces that can hold you back from putting something down on paper. If it's not written down, it's pretty hard to hold somebody to it. Right?
Exactly. So those 4 kind of main fears are something that we'll be diving into specifically in our future podcasts, of course. But there are also things that, there are particular nuances that each of us bring to our own writing that can also be dealt with very personally through the offerings that we have as a group of Sidetracked Sisters. So that kind of brings us to the next part of this podcast, talking about, how we can help people with their writer's block through the podcast, of course, but there are also some other things that we bring to the table.
We can go to the next step, next level.
Yeah. So we as Sidetracked Sisters have a couple of different offerings for people who are struggling with their writing. And those are 3 different things. The first thing, I don't know that we've talked about too much on the podcast, but Sidetracked Sisters, sidetrackedsisters.com, is the place where you can find our writings and find an offering where we walk people through writing down their own legacy writing in a 52-week process.
And don't let the word legacy scare you. I mean, legacy is just your story. It's your story for future generations, for today's generations. Sometimes it's for yourself.
Yeah. And what's kind of cool is we have a how that works is that each week you get a writing prompt that we encourage you to write about. But that you can choose other writing prompts if that one doesn't, crumble your cookie or and people who do that then have a book about their life for themselves, or like you said, for their communities, for their friends, for the family, for those who love them. And it's it's not something that you're going to want to be a New York Times bestseller author for. It's just your story, the way you saw it. And these are the stories and life lessons and things that you think somebody might be interested in, or just favorite stories that you don't want to be lost when you're gone someday.
Right. You might even stick in a recipe or 2.
Yes, exactly. I love it. Now, what lots of people have been using is our freebie that's associated with that. If you go to the sidetrackedsisters.com website, you can sign up to get a monthly list of 30 writing prompts that you can do whatever your little heart desires. with.
Mhm.
And that does not in any way obligate you to writing your own legacy work or book, but it's just a tool for you to put in your back pocket if you want it when you're
Yeah,
doing it.
and it's a good thing to practice with too. Yeah.
So then the other thing we have, and I don't think we've talked about this even once, we also have another offering where somebody, let's say you have a loved one who you'd love to have their story, but getting together and interviewing them isn't an option.
Mm-hmm.
We can organize 10 sessions, 10 1-hour sessions, where we get together with that loved one and we do an interview. And then we put those 10 interviews into a book along with pictures that you want to submit to go along with that. I did that with my 101-year-old Grandpa Matt. We sat down and we had 10 interview sessions. And
Nice.
then we went through a number of his boxes of pictures and found lots of pictures of him and his wife, dearly departed wife. And the last time we got together and I interviewed him was the day before he passed. So it was
Whew.
pretty
Timely.
exactly. And that then we put into a book and we actually I sent out information and family and friends that wanted a copy of that were able to order one. It was beautiful and it turned out absolutely perfectly. So we have the book that you can write yourself over 52 weeks. We have an offering where we can interview somebody over 10 1-hour sessions and turn that into a book. And the third thing we have is something brand new.
It's very wonderful. Boom. Yeah. And that's
Lisa
about
Hoffman coaching. And
yes.
that is so much fun because I have been doing a lot of different kinds of coaching. I am a certified life coach and I have been doing all kinds of coaching. And what's fascinating is the people that I've been coaching about writing lately. And that's one of the ways that we were like, hey, I really like these people. And I think I can help even more people by letting people know that I'm a writing coach and I can coach you on all things writing blocks.
Now, I think I want to specify, I mean, you're not trying to get everybody in the world to write a New York best-selling novel. That's not what we're discussing. We're talking about getting people to be able to write in a journal, to write about their past, to write about their present, to write down their thoughts and ideas, to use writing as a tool for improving their life.
And I think when I get together with people, I think that is part of it for some people. But as a coach, I can help a wide variety of people depending upon what their personal goal is. Maybe somebody does want to pursue having an award-winning book. But I can start that working with that person, way back at the beginning. For instance, a while ago, I was working with a young woman and she wanted to become a what's it called? A plastic surgeon. She was struggling in high school and her lifelong dream and goal was to become a plastic surgeon. And so we really broke that down into what does that look like for her now? And what are the steps that it would take to do that? And I helped her incrementally begin her journey. And it began with getting her high school diploma, getting her CNA. We were looking at the parts, then you become an LPN. Then she was also looking at what she could do in terms of being able to finance her dream of becoming a plastic surgeon. And so being able to break a big, huge goal down into its smaller steps makes it into bite-sized pieces. And that's something, no matter what your goal is, you can get writer's block at any stage in the process towards that bigger goal, whatever it is. And I can help you with that.
Exactly.
way that looks right now is that I often will get together with somebody on a coaching call where I kind of coach them through something that's going on for them right now, or maybe look at what their goal is, what they're interested in, and then we decide whether or not I would be a good fit as a coach for them. And then we take that goal and we break it up into parts. And usually over the course of 12 weeks, we look at what we can accomplish in that time, what our goal is. And then we get together on a weekly basis and we look at how the goal's going and what's going on for you so that we can talk about and work through those blocks really on a one-to-one individual basis to help you be successful.
I think that's wonderful. And that's a step that they can just negotiate with you personally to finding out just how that would work for them, right?
And the way they do that, it's not through sidetracksisters.com, but that would be through my Instagram site, which is Lisa Hoffman Coaching. And you can find all things, or additional things about overcoming writer's block and Lisa Hoffman Coaching on Instagram.
Fabulous. Wow. I like what I'm hearing. We're there for you guys. We're going to help you go with what you want to do, right?
Yes. And it's something that we're always moving and grooving. We're always changing and adapting. That's something that is definitely a trait of the Sidetracked Sisters. We are not stuck people. We are people that continue to grow and develop and change and move forward.
I'll tell you what, we didn't get that name for nothing. We really earned it, didn't we?
We did, exactly. So overcoming writer's block.
Yay, I like it.
And just almost not enough in the same breath.
Lisa, let's rock on, okay?
Sounds like a good deal. Love you.
Love you too.
Talk
to you next week.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.